Hello, and welcome to the Creative Forces Community Engagement Grant Program informational webinar. My name is Matt Elmore, and I am the Grant Programs Coordinator for MidAmerica Arts Alliance. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm speaking to you today from my apartment in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, on the historic lands of the Seneca people. I'm a white male with long brown hair, wearing a brown sweater, and behind me you can see a white wall with a colorful abstract painting and a few guitars hanging beside me. Today, I will offer a description of the Creative Forces Community Engagement Grant Program guidelines. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to post them in the chat, and I'll circle back to them at the end. I'm recording this presentation for those who are unable to make it, and a link to this recording will be posted on the MidAmerica Creative Forces website soon. This slide contains the dates of 3 upcoming Creative Forces web events that you might be interested in. I will be holding open office hours for any questions or concerns regarding the grant application on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Central Time, starting on October 26th and ending on November 30th. The Creative Forces National Resource Center will also be presenting 2 webinars soon. On Wednesday, October 27th at 2 p.m. Central Time, the Creative Forces National Resource Center will host a webinar on partnerships and outreach for community engagement grant programs serving military-connected populations. On Wednesday, November 10th at 2 p.m., the National Resource Center will present a second webinar on the topic of serving military families. You can sign up for all these events at maaa.org/creative forces. Okay then, let's look at a slide that outlines our agenda for the afternoon. This slide also has 3 pictures showing previous Creative Forces community engagement projects. These 3 pictures show military-connected people participating in dance, metalsmithing, and crafts. On to our agenda. First, I will introduce MidAmerica Arts Alliance. Second, I will provide an overview of the Community Engagement Grant Program, including eligibility requirements, administrative requirements, an explanation of the emerging and advanced grant tiers, the requirements of community engagement projects, and information about the application review process. Finally, I'll review how your organization can apply, and we can use any remaining time to answer questions that you've put in the chat. So now let's move on to learning a little bit about MidAmerica Arts Alliance. This slide shows the MidAmerica Arts Alliance logo. We at MidAmerica Arts Alliance collectively acknowledge that our offices, as well as the 6-state region that we serve, are located on the occupied ancestral lands of First American nations. We recognize the history of forced relocation by the United States government of many First American nations from their tribal homelands to our region in the late 18th century and throughout the 19th century. We commit to creating a future founded on respect and healing the deepest generational wounds by building bridges and mutual understanding. We will continue to re-educate ourselves about the histories and experiences of all peoples in our region. The mission of MidAmerica Arts Alliance is to strengthen and support artists, cultural organizations, and communities throughout the region and beyond. Since 1972, when MidAmerica Arts Alliance opened its doors, we have had the pleasure of working at various times in partnership with all 3 federal arts and culture agencies: Institute of Museum and Library Services, National Endowment for the Humanities, and of course, the National Endowment for the Arts. Our vision being more art for more people, MidAmerica Arts Alliance is one of 6 nonprofit regional arts organizations in the country. Each regional arts organization offers a variety of national and regional programs. This slide shows a map of the United States with colors denoting the geographical areas that each of the 6 regional arts organizations generally represent and service. Some programs that MidAmerica offers are regionally based, which means that some of our grants are limited to serving the arts in Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Texas. That being said, each regional arts organization does offer at least one national program, and the Creative Forces Community Engagement Grant Program is an example of a national grant collaboration between the NEA and MidAmerica Arts Alliance. And now that we've all been introduced to MidAmerica Arts Alliance and the work we do, we can turn our attention to this afternoon's main event, the grant program overview. Now I'm presenting a slide with the Creative Forces Community Engagement Grant logo. The Creative Forces NEA Military Healing Arts Network is an initiative of the National Endowment for the Arts in partnership with the U.S. Departments of Defense and Veterans Affairs that seeks to improve the health, well-being, and quality of life for military and veteran populations exposed to trauma, as well as their families and caregivers. The program places creative arts therapies at the core of patient-centered care at clinical sites throughout the country, including telehealth services, and increases access to community arts activities to promote health, well-being, and quality of life for military service members, veterans, and their families and caregivers. Creative Forces is managed in partnership with Americans for the Arts, the Henry M. Jackson Foundation for the Advancement of Military Medicine, and MidAmerica Arts Alliance. Since 2017, Creative Forces has invested in community arts engagement activities in order to advance understanding of the benefits and impacts for military-connected populations who have been exposed to trauma. Creative Forces supported community programs have involved a range of arts activities, including visual, written, and performing arts offered through single events, drop-in programs, and ongoing engagement led by artists in residence, teaching artists, or creative arts therapists. Program evaluation, summaries of which can be found at the Creative Forces National Resource Center, has examined the impacts of these activities. Such findings informed the development of the Creative Forces Community Engagement Logic Model and helped guide development of this grant program, including the anticipated participant and organizational outcomes that will be used to measure this initiative. This slide has a picture of two people at a Creative Forces community engagement program holding ukuleles, and also a brief text summarizing the program description I'm about to read. MidAmerica and the NEA will be awarding approximately 35 matching grants of up to $10,000 for emerging grants or up to $50,000 for advanced art engagement projects that take place after July 1st, 2022. These grants are intended to support non-clinical arts engagement programs taking place in healthcare, community, or virtual settings. While these activities can be informed by medical knowledge, practice, or theory, support from this grant program cannot include direct involvement with medical research, clinical therapy, treatment delivery, or involve protected health information, including any associated with the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, commonly known as HIPAA. Further, funds from this grant program shall not support studies that include systemic investigations, including research and development, testing or evaluation, or research studies designed to develop or contribute to generalizable knowledge. This would include activities that require asking program participants to provide sensitive and/or confidential information about themselves, or that involves systemic studies to assess a program's benefits for participants. The next slide shows a picture of a community engagement participant holding on to newly completed bluish-green ceramic dishes, as well as a summary of the organizational requirements that would make one eligible or an organization eligible for applying to this grant. In order to apply for this grant, your organization must be a nonprofit tax-exempt 501c3 U.S. organization, a unit of state or local government, or a federally recognized tribal community or tribe located in the United States, including the District of Columbia and all U.S. territories, as well as native nations that share that geography. To apply for this grant, your organization must have a minimum of 3 years of experience either programming for or with military communities or presenting or producing arts-based projects. Your organization must have completed a 3-year history of programming prior to the application deadline. Programming is not required to have taken place during consecutive years. If your programming was affected or suspended due to COVID-19, you may reference 2020 or 2021 programming that was canceled or reimagined due to the pandemic. Virtual programming, planning, and COVID-19 recovery activities are considered to be programming. You may also choose to list arts programming from a recent year other than 2020 or 2021. For the purpose of defining eligibility, 3-year history refers to when an organization began its programming and not when it incorporated or received nonprofit tax-exempt status. Additionally, your organization must be able to apply directly on your own behalf. Applications through a fiscal sponsor or fiscal agent are not allowed. Your organization must have a unique entity identifier or DUNS number and have an active registration in the System for Award Management, or SAM. You must be in good standing with MidAmerica, the National Endowment for the Arts, and all other federal agencies with no delinquent reports or grant documents. The following types of organizations are not eligible to apply. Organizations whose primary purpose is to channel resources to an affiliated organization cannot apply if the affiliated organization submits its own application. This prohibition applies even if each organization has its own 501c3 status. For example, the Friends of ABC Museum may not apply if the ABC Museum applies. Furthermore, academic departments of colleges and universities are not eligible to apply, but the department's parent institution is eligible. State and jurisdictional arts agencies, or SAAs, and regional arts organizations are not eligible to apply or serve as partners in Creative Forces Community Engagement Grant Program projects. This next slide shows a list of project partnership requirements, as well as the anticipated outcomes for grantees and their partners. The project must include at least one partner who provides resources to help advance or support the project. Partner types include, but are not limited to, arts organizations of any discipline, individual artists or non-artists, Department of Defense facilities, Veterans Affairs clinics, vet centers, universities, colleges, for-profit organizations, social service organizations, military or veteran assistance agencies, or website or technology organizations. Again, this is not a comprehensive list. The project must be led by an organization that has a history of creative or artistic programming. If not, the lead organization must partner with at least one organization or individual that has a history of creative or artistic programming. The project must actively include the perspective of one or more local members of the targeted military-connected groups that the project intends to serve. The Creative Forces Community Engagement Logic Model that informs this work identifies key project outcomes intended to advance the capacity of the applicant and its partners in one or more of the following ways. Networked organization. Grantees build networks and partnerships that support the design, implementation, and evaluation of programs for targeted military-connected participants, leading to stronger outcomes for participants. Strengthen capacity. Grantees build their capacity to design, implement, and evaluate programs that meet the needs of targeted military-connected participants. And increased value of the arts. Grantee partnerships and activities lead to an increased understanding of the value and impact of the arts across local participating networks and communities. Again, MidAmerica and the NEA will provide individualized technical assistance to all grantees focused on data collection, project evaluation, and the creation or refinement of a project logic model to support the development of these community engagement projects. Next is a slide listing the populations that can be served under this grant. Your project must serve at least one of the following populations within the targeted military-connected community listed on this slide. These include active duty service members from any branch of the military, guardsmen and/or reservists, veterans, Military-connected family members, including spouses or partners, children, parents, sibling, and non-traditional or chosen family members. Military caregivers, including family, residential, and clinical caregivers, and healthcare workers serving military-connected populations. Next, we'll move on to a slide showing a portrait of a woman with multicolored hair, as well as lists showing the anticipated participant outcomes for the National Community Engagement Grant Program. As I mentioned before, the Creative Forces Community Engagement Logic Model and program evaluation efforts have identified key project outcomes for participants. Projects should engage targeted military-connected individuals through experiences of art or art making with one or more of the following participant outcomes in mind. Creative expression. Participants have a better understanding of themselves and others by creating or engaging with art. Social connectedness. Participants have supportive relationships in their life and a sense of belonging to a community. Resilience. Participants feel they can rebound from stress, unexpected events, or life's challenges. And independence and successful adaptation to civilian life. Participants have both an individual and shared sense of purpose, as well as a positive self-worth that supports adapting and readjusting to civilian life. The Creative Forces National Team has developed participant surveys and grantee reports to be implemented across all projects. MidAmerica and NEA will provide robust technical assistance to all grantees, again, focused on data collection, project evaluation, and the creation or refinement of a project logic model. This slide lists the project types for emerging grants, which are limited to requests up to $10,000. The emerging grant tier for the development and implementation of new or emerging non-clinical arts engagement programs for targeted military-connected populations, or for small organizations providing non-clinical arts engagement opportunities to targeted military-connected populations. This tier allows for projects that work towards one or more of the following: identifying needs in the local military-connected community, establishing partnerships, establishing clinic-to-community recommendation processes, building an understanding of military culture, building community and military understanding of the value of arts engagement, building organizational capacity for effective implementation of future programming, planning for post-grant sustainability of a project, and the implementation of an arts engagement project. We'll cover the detailed requirements of the community engagement project a little bit later, but for now, let's talk more about emerging tier details. The maximum grant amount is $10,000 for a project that must be completed within the course of 1 year, to be implemented on or after July 1st, 2022, and concluded on or before June 30th, 2023. Grant recipients in the emerging tier are expected to participate in a robust structure of technical assistance provided by Creative Forces and MidAmerica to facilitate project-level capacity building, including for monitoring, evaluation, and data collection as it relates to provided services to the program serving the targeted military-connected population, and support for the development of a project logic model. Data collected for the Creative Forces Grant Program will be analyzed and made available to the grantees for the benefit of future and current projects. That's it for the overview of emerging grants. Next, I'll show a slide listing the requirements for advanced grants. Advanced grant tier amounts can range from $10,000 to $25,000 for projects completed during 1 year that is implemented on or after July 1st, 2022, and completed on or before June 30th, 2023. Projects that take place over the course of 2 years can request up to $50,000 and are to be concluded on or before June 30th of 2024. The advanced grant tier provides support to organizations for established non-clinical arts engagement projects. Applicants in this tier must provide details on the implementation of the project that can be utilized to construct a logic model during the grant period of performance. Applicants must provide evidence of military cultural competency demonstrated by either the applicant or a key partner. For example, previous successful military programming, formal partnerships with military or veteran-connected service organizations, military background of key staff or consultants, and documented training. Finally, advanced grant applicants must demonstrate an understanding of how the project activities are aligned with and will support the desired participant and organizational outcomes that were presented moments ago. Grant recipients in the advanced tier are also expected to participate in technical assistance focused on performance measurement, evaluation for continuous process improvement, and outcomes measurement, excluding the measurement of individual level outcomes. Submitting a logic model incorporating adaptations or lessons learned to MidAmerica at the conclusion of the grant period is required. Data collected for the Creative Forces grant program will be analyzed and made available to grantees for the benefit of current and future projects. Now that we've covered the advanced grants, some of you are probably wondering, but what exactly are the requirements of the community engagement projects? If that is you, please do not worry. Let's talk about what these community engagement projects need to look like. This slide shows examples of eligible and ineligible types of community engagement projects. The following guidelines for community engagement projects were developed based on existing community engagement research. This research, as well as descriptions of existing community engagement partnerships and program models, can be found on the Creative Forces National Resource Center website. Eligible types of Creative Forces Community Engagement Grant Program projects include, but are not limited to, military or veteran family and caregiver support, apprenticeships, internships, and residencies, arts instruction, the creation of a work of art, the presentation of a concert, performance, or exhibition, and a recording or filming or taping. The following types of project activities or expenses are not eligible for consideration. This includes primary data collection or research based on participant experience that would require an institutional review board or IRB, lobbying, subgranting or regranting, facility construction, purchases or renovation, receptions, parties or galas, courses and degree granting institutions, commercial or for-profit enterprises, or gifts, awards, or prizes. This slide lists some possible service delivery models for community engagement projects. Eligible projects can be offered free of charge or require participation or admission fee and can be implemented through a single or combination of service delivery models, which include but are not limited to in-person or virtual classes that meet regularly for a distinct scheduled period of time, drop-in style programs where no reservation or enrollment is required and programming is offered on a recurring basis over an extended period of time. Another possibility is a participant cohort performance or exhibition showcasing the cohort's work. You could feature community or network building, a single event attended once by participants. Eligible projects are not discipline specific. They may span one or more creative disciplines, including but not limited to crafts, dance or movement, design arts, folk or traditional arts, humanities, literature, media arts, music, music theater or opera, oral traditions, theater, and visual arts. Of course, this list is not comprehensive. Please contact me with questions regarding a specific art discipline that was not mentioned. It is likely eligible. This slide shows a photo of community engagement participants playing guitars on stage, as well as summaries of the budget and other administrative requirements for the grants. The project must have a budget that reflects a one-to-one, dollar-for-dollar match for the grant amount requested. So if you request $10,000, you must match $10,000. This match may be a combination of cash or in-kind contributions, so all funding, procured or pending, should be included in the budget. You should note that federal funding cannot be used to meet the one-to-one match requirements. And to ensure that, federal and other MidAmerica grant funding procured or pending that will be applied to this project must be included in the budget. The following costs are not allowable expenses in the project budget. Indirect costs are not allowable. Debt repayment, trusts, endowment funds or investment, fundraising activities, lobbying, capital improvements. These are activities that cannot be funded. The project must be accessible to people with disabilities. Funded activities must be held in a physically or virtually accessible venue, and program access and effective communication must be provided for participants and audience members with disabilities. If selected, the organization will enter into a grant agreement with MidAmerica Arts Alliance. The agreement will outline the terms and conditions, including federal regulations and project and crediting requirements of the Creative Forces Community Engagement Grant Program Award. Grantees must comply with all requirements as stipulated in the grant agreement, including but not limited to the following. Grantees are required to carry out the activities consistent with the original application as approved for funding. Changes to funded activities must be proposed in advance and require prior written approval from MidAmerica staff. Requests for changes are considered on a case-by-case basis, and approval is not guaranteed. If selected, your organization must participate in any Creative Forces capacity building and technical assistance cohort meetings and convenings. This may include, but is not limited to, peer-to-peer mentorship opportunities, as well as data evaluation and logic model workshops. Travel support will be provided by NEA Creative Forces and MidAmerica for these cohort events. Your organization will be required to utilize and complete participant or audience surveys developed and provided as part of the grant program. Data will be collected for both performance measurement and program evaluation to monitor the outputs and outcomes of the subgranting program, as well as the role of arts engagement in advancing health, well-being, and the quality of life for Creative Forces target populations. Grantees must complete an online final report form, finalizing grant-funded activities and accomplishments at the end of the project activity period or at the end of the period of support, whichever occurs first. Grant recipients must compensate all professional performers and related or supporting professional personnel at no less than the prevailing minimum rate of compensation in your area. Grant awards are considered income. Grant recipients are responsible for all tax obligations under federal, state, and local laws. MidAmerica recommends that all recipients consult a tax accountant or local internal revenue service office with questions or concerns regarding deductions and reporting. Okay, I didn't see too many people jump off the Zoom call during the administrative requirements. So let's move on. Now that you know what kind of projects we are looking for, we can now talk about how we will be evaluating applications. This next slide has a picture of two people viewing art together, as well as headings of our application review criteria. An application will be deemed ineligible by MidAmerica staff if it is incomplete at the time of submission or does not meet the applicant or project eligibility requirements. Ineligible applicants may request that MidAmerica provide a rationale to help the applicant adapt for future submissions. If deemed eligible for consideration, applications are evaluated by an independent review panel on the basis of artistic merit and artistic excellence. Artistic merit includes project design, project management, and equity and accessibility for the proposal. An ideal project plan indicates a well-defined, relevant, and necessary partnership, a realistic timeline, appropriate budget, clear artistic and community-based objectives, achievable goals, and adequate risk management. For the advanced tier, the application should indicate methods to recruit targeted military-connected participants and evaluate and measure outcomes through the collection of and analysis of data and documentation of activities. Proposals should demonstrate an applicant organization's ability to implement the proposed project and clearly demonstrate the qualifications of the project team, viability of project budget, and overall fiscal and managerial health of applicant and partnering organizations, including demonstrated capacity to partner with organizations or individuals that have relevant connections to the military, ability to provide or adapt programming to reach military, and the adaptability of the programming to make programming adaptable to the practical barriers of partnering with military. Proposals should demonstrate the organization's administrative capacity to complete the project by listing appropriate paid and volunteer staff and demonstrating leadership in financial planning, which includes proven fiscal responsibility and appropriate financial resources as evidenced in the budget. Excuse me, I take a drink here. Your application must demonstrate fair practices to access resources and an inclusive approach to the communities to be served in the representation, participation, and creation of services. Your application should evidence that funded project services, information, and facilities where funded activities are to take place will be accessible for individuals with disabilities, including but not limited to individuals who are deaf, hard of hearing, deaf-blind, have difficulty speaking, have a physical disability, including those who require the use of wheelchairs or prosthetics, visual disability, developmental disability, learning disability, mental illness, or chronic illness. Artistic excellence includes project leadership, community impact, and overall grant program and project alignment. Applications should demonstrate project leadership by showing how individuals or arts organizations involved in the project design and execution demonstrate skills, expertise, and experiences that are central to the goals of the project. This includes the qualifications of teaching artists, staff, or personnel, and their experience working with the military as appropriate to the project and application tier. The context of programming, the intent to introduce creativity to military-connected individuals, and the frequency of contact with that population through the project. Community impact is understood as the project reach and/or depth of engagement in a defined geographic and/or affinity-based community and military cultural competency in accordance with the identified project goals and grant tier. The project should be responsive to the community to be served and not duplicative of existing programming within the community. Project execution and evaluation should involve community participation in accordance with the identified program goals and project requirements. Participants in communities served, including geographic and demographic characteristics and accessibility for individuals with disabilities. Overall grant program and project alignment considers how well the project or the proposed project aligns with the Creative Forces Community Engagement Grant Program objectives to promote the health, well-being, and overall quality of life of targeted military-connected individuals by understanding their needs and providing access to community arts experiences. Eligible applications will be reviewed by an independent review panel consisting of arts professionals, including artists and creative arts therapists, military-connected individuals, and laypersons, who reflect a wide geographic, ethnic, and minority representation, as well as a diverse aesthetic and cultural points of view. This last slide shows the application due date, which is December 15th. As well as a reminder on the open office hours I will be holding on Tuesday afternoons at 3 p.m. Eastern Time starting on October 26th. You can sign up for these office hours on the Eventbrite via the MAAA.org/Creative Forces website. MidAmerica Arts Alliance strives to provide accessibility services and accommodation solutions to ensure that people of all abilities are included. MidAmerica staff are available to assist with adapting our typical processes to ensure that people with disabilities have equal opportunity to apply. We are available to offer guidance and clarification in preparing your application. We recommend that you contact us well in advance of the deadline to ensure that you can be accommodated in a timely manner. The contact email, as you see on the screen, is creativeforces@maaaa.org. Ending this presentation, the Creative Forces grant application form can be found online on the same website.